What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Kick Punched. In this video, we're going to be making the car 15, and I finally figured out how to get my pureRef scene to show. I was having a hard time just switching it to this monitor to be able to get it to show. So anyway, you can see the pureRef scene, and if you're moving along with this tutorial, this is gonna be a link in the description too. You can just download this pureRef file and then just boot it up. So I just wanted to show you some of the reference I was looking at for the gun. Obviously, in this image that we're kind of matching, he just has like a standard car 15 without the M203 attachment. But I decided that it looks cooler, so I'm just going to make basically a very similar variant to this guy right here. And it's going to have the M203 launcher. We're going to have some, they call them 40 mics or 40mm grenades. So we're going to make like 3 or 4 of those just strapped to his harness. But I just wanted to show you my pureRef scene to kind of see where I was getting my reference from. With that being said, let's dive into to Zbrush, and this is kind of where we landed on the character. So this is kind of where he's at, just doing a quick turnaround, see where things are at. I'm gonna rotate this guy just a little bit, like so. And okay, so from here, I think we're just gonna start with a good old-fashioned cube. Just append a cube down here to the bottom of the stack, and we'll work in this direction. So I'm just going to start by building up the body of the car 15. Turn on solo mode, and this is going to be tricky. It's going to be a longer video just because this is a harder thing to model. I'm just going to dive in here, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and say words to me. Geometry. I'm gonna come over here and make this a Dynamesh real quick, and let's just go for it. So we're gonna start just by making the upper and the lower, just this body of the actual gun. So let's start by doing a Boolean subtraction using this cylinder, whatever this thing is here. And just hold Alt, left click and drag, and we'll do the little trigger well thing here first. Get that out of the way. And then I think we kind of come up here and cut this guy out. And I'm not like trying to be just absolutely precise. Obviously, I'm just trying to like. I'm not like being a purist about this. This is going to be, you know, a stylized asset, right? This is going to be something that isn't just 100% accurate to every. It's not going to be like a CAD model, is what I'm getting at. So we do want some stylization to it. So we've got to get that nice little curve in the back. So we'll pull this guy back over this way a little bit, and then use click curve and just kind of draw a little bit of a curve here, like so. And hope everyone's doing well, keeping busy. And then it looks like maybe it's gonna be a little bit shorter up top here, and then we're gonna get that fun carry handle slash sight up top. So the way we're gonna do that, I think, is just kind of start like, let's increase our resolution first on our Dynamesh over here, and then just run a smooth on there and then re-Dynamesh. Sorry, I have to keep flipping back and forth because I do want to get this fairly close, because I don't want people to make fun of me if this looks like a turd. And it's funny, I grew up shooting guns out here in Utah, so I'm familiar with these, and I grew up around these guns specifically, so I should know them better than I do, but I'm going to be flipping back and forth to my reference just to be safe. So just kind of trying to get this guy looking right. I tend to do like a very polygonal kind of style workflow, if you're familiar with that. Yeah, that's not gonna work. And okay, then it kind of comes down right there like that. So now use click curve and kind of slice that guy, and then we're going to pull the rest of this using the mask lasso. I'm going to grab just the bottom portion of this, and then bring it down in and have it meet the body, like so. And if we come over to the side, or the front view I should say, we want this to kind of be skinnier than the body of the actual gun because it's a skinnier part. So we're gonna come in like this. Actually, that's too far down, I think. Let's just rerun a Dynamesh. So we'll stay up a little bit higher. And looks like we got some weirdness going on up top here. Okay, so that's the issue. Make sure that you're in orthographic view, I should say, when you're doing this stuff. Dynamesh, smooth, and we're gonna want to keep things a little bit more inflated out actually, because again, because we want it to print. So this is gonna be way too skinny. So I'm just gonna select the bottom portion of this and kind of pull this all up just a little bit, just a hair, so that it'll print for us. Okay. Okay, and take another look here. So again, it's very important. We're looking at our reference and making sure that things are in line. I might jump into polish mode here just to see what that's going to do for us. And I'm going to put a little here for the charging, or the what's this thing called? I can't remember. This is the little grip here for the charging handle for where you rack the chamber around. It's kind of this interesting little thing. And then another thing that we have to do, this is going to be tricky to get, is there's supposed to be a groove on the inside right here, because you actually look down this is part of the sights here. So I'm going to switch over to my snake hook brush and kind of get that. There's not a bow in the top of this, it's very straight. So try to get that guy in line a little bit more so. Okay. Alright, so let's come back. And now we have to have this like kind of cylinder. This is where the chamber is, where the round gets chambered in, and the bolt mechanism is hiding behind this. So we need to have like a cylinder. What we're going to do is we'll append a cylinder in, and then turn off solo mode and just shift left click the eye and just bring back the tools that we're working with. And then rotate this guy 90 degrees and stretch it out in Z, and then we'll just kind of fit it into place, and then combine it all together here. Let's go up in Y, and that goes all the way, I think, to the very back. Yeah, there's a little bit further back. Hit Control D to subdivide this guy a few times first, so you don't get that faceting. Oops. And then we'll scale again and make sure that it's in place here. Okay, perfect. Drop it down just a little bit here. And just accentuate that just a little bit more. And then we're going to merge that all down. Okay, so we'll merge that guy down. I'm going to version up my file. Okay. It looks like we've kind of gotten in the way down here, so I'm going to just Control Shift left click on this guy, get everything else out of the way, and then slice this guy out of the way. Okay, so now it's out of the way right there. And we might have actually, let's see what we've done here. Let's use our Move Topological brush with symmetry on and kind of try to move this guy into place a little bit better. And again, it's okay to eyeball for now. We're just still in very early stages. If you were to run a Dynamesh now, it'll let's add this interesting little detail underneath right here first. how much. We need to check our poly count, see how we're doing. Let's just use a clay buildup brush to kind of. It's not quite high enough to get us there. I'm gonna Dynamesh, delete lower, and then crank a resolution to 3 something. See what that does. And there's a little bit of a square thing right here, so we're going to do another append insert cube right here. And we're actually just going to do this on the one side, because it only exists on that one side. And then kind of scale this guy where we need it to be. And push that guy back in a little. And we're just trying to get this little detail here. And I'm probably getting a little bit too nitpicky for now. We have a long ways to go on this guy, so I'm probably not going to. Looks like our trigger guard area needs to be a little bit wider too. So let's, using our mask lasso, just blur our mask a little bit, and then move this guy down in Y. Okay. All right, so that's looking good. Now let's start getting our barrel into place. So we're going to append another cylinder and then rotate that 90 degrees and start scaling that into place. We kind of want to line that up with where our other barrel was, or sorry, not our barrel, but our chamber. So, okay, and then hit Control D, subdivide a few times, and let's clean up our ends. I wish that this particular model just had the loops to make that work properly. So we're definitely too thick, but we do want to keep it thicker just to be safe with our 3D print. So a lot of these guys had suppressors on the end of these, so we got to try to achieve that. And I think what I'm going to do is just do a mask pen here and then deflate just a little bit. I apologize for my chair noises. I got the noisiest chair on planet Earth. Okay. And now let's add our front sight. Let's go for that right now. I'm going to run a delete lower and do a Dynamesh. Apologize if my voice sounds a little shaky. I've got the jitters. I did a pre-workout and then I learned the pre-workouts are loaded with caffeine. So I'm very jittery right now. I don't recommend it. Okay, a little too thick on that extract, so I'm just dropping it down to 0.006 and you're gonna hit accept. And then we're gonna grab just the top part. Well, let's move into Dynamesh first. We'll come to our geometry tab and run a Dynamesh, crank a resolution just a smidge, and drag rectangle on the very tops of those and start pulling those up in Y. Okay, re-Dynamesh. Actually, I'm going to hold on that re-Dynamesh for now. I kind of want to be able to easily move this guy into this guy. So I'm just going to go that direction for now. This guy is actually skinnier, so that's going to be tricky. Come back down. Whoops! I hit Tab on my keyboard accidentally, and I got rid of all my UI. So if you run into that, just hit Tab, and it'll bring it back. And I keep doing that. All right, so kind of a very distinct shape there. My goodness, I keep hitting that. It's because of those jitters I got. What I was doing there. Okay, I think I'm actually gonna do a scale. I'm gonna mask the top part of this and just scale this in the X direction and just add some thickness there, drop it back down. And then I'm going to come over here with my clip curve and clip like so to give it the little front sight area. And then I'm going to add this little tiny cylinder. And We'll see if this prints. It's kind of fun to do small detail and just to see if it'll actually print. It's all depending on your printer quality and what you're running, but make the resolution on this guy just a little bit. Okay, so now let's go like this. So I'm going to mask this area right here because this is actually skinnier down below, and I'm going to carve into this. Whoops, using Control-Shift click curve, and just holding Alt. I'm just creating points in that line. So if you double tap, you can create like a nice sharp angle right there, and if you just push once, you can create a nice curve. So we'll go that route, and then come right here too and do that on this side. And then I need to grab, it's gonna be a little bit tricky, I need to grab the inside shell of that guy. Oops, make sure symmetry's on. Oops, not that. And get rid of this guy. So I'm just trying to get this inside part right here, which is gonna be a little bit, it's a little bit tricky to grab. Invert my selection, and then recenter my pivot, reset my pivot so I can just pull that down, and then get this kind of interesting little thing here. And we'll do a click curve. Oops, you need to mask this area. So you can mask the little work area that you're in, and then the clip curve won't affect anything that's in the masked portion of your model. So you don't have to break it out or anything like that. I think this is good enough for right now. This is going to be a very small detail. Make this guy up just a little. Add some roundness to it. Scale it in Y. Give it a little bit of thickness. And I think that's good. I'm going to hit save real quick, and then we're going to work on the float tube, or the grip, the front grip area right here. So I like this one, the shorter one. I think the Car 15s were all kind of a shorter barrel, and so this is the one I'm going to go for. I like the holes and stuff, so let's try and get that guy in there. So I think the best shape to start with here is just I'm going to start with a cube. And then on this cube, I'm going to do a deformation. I'm going to do a taper in Y. And then we're going to scale it in the X direction and just kind of scale that guy into place. Just looking back real quick, looks like that top part comes up to the bottom. Maybe I need to adjust the shape of this just a little bit to get this more in line. So let's do that. My goodness, tab. Problem is I'm hitting Alt Tab to get over to this guy, and that's throwing me off. My brain's not working. It's just, brain's not working too well today. And then we have this little crossbar too that we're gonna try to get. Probably too thick. Cool. Alright, I'm going to Control-Shift click curve this guy and get us a straight line right here. And a straight line right here. So now we can let's move into Dynamesh. Get that 128 is fine for now. Scale up our draw size and just do a broad smooth and kind of round our edges out. And we'll just get this into a better shape here. In fact, let's do a taper in, I think it would probably be the Z direction. There we go. Nice. Okay. This drops down pretty low right here, and then it moves into the, so we need to give it space for that little contact point right here. Okay. So let's do an append, and let's append a cylinder. Sorry, we're going to work with a lot of basic primitive shapes for this particular tutorial. Deformation, we're going to do a taper in the Y direction on this guy, and then scale in Y. And we'll probably drop, oops, that's a twist. Tapered a little too much there. So now I'm going to rotate this guy 90, scale it, and then get it into place. I used to know the names of all these things. I haven't been shooting it so long because it's just so expensive. So very, very expensive. And I can afford that because I'm an artist. Okay, so now I think this guy might need to be a little bit longer. So let's scoot that guy up just a little bit and then move our front sight. And again, I think I've covered this, but to click between subtools in your viewport, you just alt left click. Set my pivot here, scale this, drop this guy up, drop him up. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I think I'm gonna scale up the size of my silencer too, because I want that to be a more prominent feature. And I'm just gonna do an inflate in a likey, Tyson likey, which is a normal thing that people say, right? And make sure that I am in Dynamesh here, symmetry turned on. We want to add this hole inside the barrel here. So I'm going to hold Alt with the cylinder and then left click and drag and hold this guy out this way a little bit and then re-Dynamesh, and now I've got this. Let's go in just a little bit further. Okay, so now we've got that hole there, and for the 5.56 caliber. Okay, I think the barrel comes forward. Let's actually go and look. I'm trying to learn my navigation in pureRef. It's throwing me off. Whoa, I think I just broke the world. I'm gonna move this onto my other monitor because it's kind of being annoying. I apologize for my technical difficulties. Settings, gonna maximize that. Okay. So now I don't have to alt tab. You guys can just see Zbrush. Okay, so the barrel is a smidge longer right here. I kind of really just wanted to show you how much I'm relying on my reference. And I'm not just winging this because I think it's important that we're using reference. And now I'm going to add those interesting holes here in this guy. And you guessed it, we're just going to do a Dynamesh subtraction on those. So let's come up here. And actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to drop this to the bottom of the stack and append another cylinder. Okay, this is going to be my subtractive mesh. I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees in this direction. Hit Control D a few times, and then get this into place. So looks like these are kind of staggered little holes that we'll just do it on the one side and now because we'll do a mirror and weld to get that detail on the other side. Maybe I'm nitpicking this just a little bit too much. So holding Control and left clicking and dragging that white arrow will pull out a duplicate copy of that. And we're just going to do this interesting little stagger like so. Try to make those equidistant as best we can. And if you turn on this little transparency button, you can see how deep in those have gone. And they look like they go all the way through this guard, this hand guard. So we're gonna do that because it would be cool. Okay. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually make this a subtractive mesh by clicking on this little button right here. We're gonna come down to the poly groups drop down, and towards the bottom you see a group as Dynamesh sub. So now that's gonna be a subtractive mesh. We're gonna save this because sometimes this operation can break and crash Zbrush before we run this. I think that's a good thing to do. And then we're going to merge this down into this subtool and then just run a Dynamesh by left clicking and dragging, and you can see it just runs a Boolean subtraction of all that, or a subtraction. Boolean subtraction. I'm using like Maya terms if that's throwing you off. And they're probably a little bit bigger, you know, than they would have been, but I'm fine with that. I want those details to show up, and I think they're cool looking. So I'm just gonna scoot this guy forward just a little, and then scoot our front sight up. Slide that guy up. That's looking good. Okay, and then let's move into. Well, I'm gonna hit save, and let's move into like the M203, the grenade launcher attachment portion of this. And let's start with a cylinder, append a cylinder, and then so a lot of this is just doing the same things over and over and over. And this guy comes like all the way up to the front portion of that silencer. That's how long it is. And then we'll just mask the back of it, and then just drag this in this direction, come all the way about to right here-ish. And I'm gonna do I'm gonna actually subdivide this guy, and then do our clip curve on the ends to kind of make those nice and flat. And then I'll run a Dynamesh and crank the resolution on that to like 500-ish. And I'm actually gonna scale this guy in just a little bit using the scale transform. I want that little, actually I don't want that to go in like that. I want it to kind of come out. And let's do our subtraction right here to add the hole. And I'm just gonna eyeball this. It's a little dangerous, but I'm good with it. So, okay, run our Dynamesh. So I held Alt. Remember to hold Alt when you're drawing your subtracted mesh if you want that to cut in. And from here, it looks like we have, using my mask pen, I'm gonna drag a rectangle right here, and we're gonna make this little kind of contact point that comes all the way up to the bottom. 1 second, I need to navigate over to where. Okay, actually, I don't think this part up here connects, so I'm gonna just mask this part. Oh, I see what's going on, okay. So, it does come up just a little bit. So let's just drag this up in Y, reset our pivot here and go up in Y. And I'm gonna grab a chunk right here and then pull this guy up because it kind of attaches to the top part of this. And then the rest of this kind of scoots up underneath this guy. And I'm just going to take this all the way over to this deal right here. There's this little notch that comes in right here. And I'm going to hit save. And then we have, it looks like we have this little inset right here that comes up, kind of at an angle. So you can turn on solo mode, get everything else out of the way for a moment. I'm going to blur this by holding Control, left clicking and tapping, and then Control, Alt, left clicking and tapping. We'll sharpen that again, maybe blur it just a little bit more, and then invert my selection and come up here to my clip curve with symmetry turned on. I'm going to just run a clip curve. Now it's going to inset that for me nicely. And it looks like it may actually drop down just a little bit for the trigger area. And then there's this little cut right here. Okay. And then let's add our trigger guard, but I'm going to do this with a cube. It's going to be kind of a non-conventional kind of approach, but I think this might be the easiest way to do this for now. So let's come over here and get the rough outer shape of our trigger guard going with this cube. It actually comes back and connects, it looks like, to the almost to the mag well right here. And I'm getting distracted, but I'm going to actually introduce kind of a mag, this little inflated detail right here for that. So I'm just going to run a deformation and go to inflate and just inflate that out just a smidge. And now we have our mag well, and that's our contact. Looks like that's our contact point. Comes around and then it comes down and back up. Okay. So let's use our clip curve and kind of get this guy into a nice shape. And I'm having to reverse my brain because my image is reversed, so it's giving me kind of a headache. I guess we can work on it like this. Really Tyson. again, I'm just going to do a curve. I'm just alt left clicking and tapping to create the curve points there, and rerunning our Dynamesh, and that's great. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to my slice curve brush, and then run a slice, and run a slice this way, and then we can just alt left click on this. And if you want to see two-sided, you can just say double-sided here, and with orthographic view turned off, so we can actually kind of see what we're doing a little better. So I'm just trying to get this guy right here. That's all I'm trying to get, is this poly group. And now I'm just going to run a modify topology, delete hidden, and then I'm actually going to z-remesh this once and twice. And now what I can do fairly easily is just do an extrude or a Q mesh with that. So mouse over the face, do a Q mesh, and then do poly group all to give this guy some thickness. And now we have that interesting little trigger guard deal. So I'm going to polish, leave it at 375 resolution for now. We can just live in Dynamesh land. And then for the trigger itself, I'm going to get a little bit messier because that was kind of a lot of work. And just do a mask, and then invert my mask and pull this guy down. And remember, it's going to look chunky and all that, but it's fine for now because we just need to be thinking rough. So I'm using the clip curve now to kind of get a better shape on that. Whoops, I'm actually in perspective mode, so let's switch back to orthographic so we can make sure that we're slicing as we intend. And just make this look a little bit more like a trigger. There we go. Perfect. Okay, cool. So now I'm going to hit save. And I'm going to get sidetracked and come over here now and add what's called the charging handle. So when you get a round that doesn't seat properly in the weapon, you can push this little button. In theory, I've never actually used it. And it'll chamber that round all the way, I guess is the theory there. So again, just using another cylinder here. There's this little teeny tiny button. Kind of do if you made that too small by accident, you can come over here and do an inflate. And then I'm actually going to do some Z modeler on this particular area right here and do an insert single poly loop. And then I'm going to do a poly group poly loop, so along this poly loop right here, and then I'm going to do a Q mesh and then bring out that detail. I'm going to continue, I'm going to add a few more loops here for creasing. So when we subdivide this, if we do subdivide it, whoops. Okay, so now we've got that interesting little button there, and then now we need the, this is the extraction port right here on this side. So we're going to use a clip curve and then actually carve in our cylinder detail just a little bit, as this is where the actual casing for the round pops out of the, shoots out the side of the gun. And I'm going to hit save. I apologize if you hear my son, he's playing with the dog and she's getting all riled up. Okay, so now I'm going to add these interesting little, you know what, I think I need to go up in Y just a little bit to give you some more space to work with, and this might throw us off a little. Reset our pivot, come up in Y, re-dynamesh everything, and then I'm going to draw out these interesting little deals here that there's this little tiny button right here that releases the mag from the mag well. It's only on, I think, on this side, so we're just going to unmask this area and just blur our mask and then resharpen our mask and then blur our mask and try to get that looking right. I don't like this little. Okay, so we'll come out with this now in this direction, and then while we're masked, I'll run a little bit of a smooth here, and so now we're in business. And now there's going to be a tiny little button right here. Who's getting nitpicky? This guy's getting nitpicky. So let's scale it in this direction. Scale it down a little bit. And it's a little bit difficult to fit that in there, but I think we're good for now. All right, cool. So, oops, you know what we did? We did something bad here with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate. Let's drop this down to the bottom of the stack because that's our new work area. I'm going to deform, go to deformation, mirror, and so now I've gotten this guy back, all right? And then I'm going to do a mirror and weld, and I'm actually just going to, what's the best way to do this? I think I'm going to use a clip curve. I'm just trying to get this guy back, and then Control Shift left click to just hide everything else, delete hidden close holes, redynamesh, and then we're going to merge this back up into this guy so we get that detail back. Okay, so now we've got that ridge back. This is looking a little bit weird. I don't know what the story is here. Let's do a auto group real quick so we can isolate that deal that we just brought in, and that's looking a little bit weird. So we'll just use a clip curve and try to, clip curve, and then try to clean this area up just a little bit. Okay. Now unhide everything and then redynamesh, and now we've got our little ridge here back, and everything's like we were expecting. So, okay, cool. So now I'm just going to save. And now let's pull out our mag here, and I think they had mostly 20 round mags until they, I think they leveled up to 30 round mags like towards the middle or the end of the war, but I don't know how many of these guys actually got access to those, so I'm just going to be safe and do a 20 round mag because I think it's more common. At least it's more common in the photos that I see. And I don't believe there was an actual like curve in that, so let's do this. Let's check it out, make sure it's about the right thickness here. And then run a Dynamesh. And I think they had this angle. If you'll pardon me for one moment, I'm going to run a search for the 20 round clips and see what those are looking like. There we go. Okay. Yep. So they had this little angle here, and I'm going to up my resolution and then do a polish. And then there's some grooves that ran this direction. And then, let's cut that guy down just a little. Just save. I love that you're all seeing how obsessive I am with my saving. This guy, and then there's like a shorter one here, and then there's another long one here. And then I'm going to blur that just a little bit, come to deformation and do like a deflate on that, and then rerun the Dynamesh. Okay, cool. All right, so now let's add these interesting ridges on this M203. So take a look at my reference. I might actually count those ridges. Let's do that. 3, 6, 9, 10, 11. Okay. So first thing I think I'm going to do is just select this guy and do an extract just to that bottom edge right there. Blur, sharpen, do an extract. We'll do a 0.02 thickness for now. It's probably going to be too thick. Do just a little bit less. Extract. Hit accept, and I'm going to rerun a Dynamesh on this guy. Crank my resolution a little bit. We're going to need the polys. Okay, and then I'm going to mask that area, do a subtle blur, and then inflate that guy out and see how that's looking. In fact, I think what I might actually do is, let's do an extract. Too much. Extract, and we'll do a blur on that guy, and then inflate it out just a little bit here. And then I'm going to take this guy, and I'm just going to hold Control and duplicate the two of these over. And if you unmask, then you only have to do a few times to get that working. So I'm going to grab two of these guys now, and then get them into place. So grab this guy. Awesome. Whoops, what did I just do? I don't know what I just did. That's why you want to make sure that you're using, sometimes you want to be using the new gizmo, because sometimes it's easier to see if your orientation's off. Whoops. Let's mask that area over there. Come back. And then I'm actually going to just add a little bit of a curve up top here. Cool. Awesome. Okay, loving those details, and I think the only thing that I'm doing wrong here is this ridge up here looks kind of awkward. So I might have to just clean this up a little bit real quick. This isn't looking right. Okay, so I'm going to click curve this guy, and then I think this is supposed to be shorter. I think I went too long with it. So I'm going to get rid of this little notch right here. And merge this all down. I think we're good to merge this. And then just Dynamesh that all together. A little bit of smooth. And re-click curve this guy a little bit shorter. And hit save because I don't want things to crash and cause me a headache. So now I'm going to come back to insert cylinder. Man, we're already at 45 minutes on this guy. Can't believe it. Okay, so now I think that's the way, it's closer to what those things are supposed to look like. And I want to split this out so that I can subdivide it real quick. So let's do a split hidden. And then, whoops, that's no bueno. So I guess I grabbed a cylinder that had a different topology than I usually use, so I'm going to insert my edges just for creasing real quickly. What's going on here? There we go. Turn off symmetry because it's pitching a fit. And I'm actually just going to cut this guy in too and do my Q mesh. To make that, instead of doing the Boolean subtractive mesh there. So now I hit Control D and subdivide that guy, get rid of those polygons, and that's okay for now. And yeah, it's looking a lot better. In fact, I think I'm going to scale this guy up just a little. So yeah, it's looking mean. Looking pretty mean. Awesome. P, let's check it out in perspective. And then let's start by adding the pistol grip now. And I'm going to append a cube for this to start modeling with that. I'll left click over to that guy, hit P, and switch over to my orthographic view, and then get the rough shape of that working. There's a fairly steep angle to these grips. And then let's move on over to Dynamesh, and then run just a broad smooth, and then clip out this guy. This is supposed to be a fairly smooth little transition right here, so I need to scale that out just a little. And then it goes roughly like so. And I think we need to taper this guy a little bit in Y, but we'll go with the... No, that's not working very well, is it? Resolution. Let's just use a snake hook and we'll just eyeball it. It gets a little bit thicker towards the base, it looks like. And then we will just grab that guy, pull that out just a little. And then there's also an interesting little notch that comes out here. Okay, cool. It's too big, so let's just scale this in just a little in this direction. And we'll clean up this little area because this is supposed to be just a nice curve right here. And okay, I think now we're ready to move on to the buttstock of the gun, which I'm going to do the collapsible stock. So that's basically going to be just a cylinder. So a lot of the same primitives we start out with here. Okay, and then rotate that guy 90. So, and then we'll duplicate this guy and make another cylinder here, scoot it back just a little bit, and kind of inflate that guy out just a little. And this is going to be, we're going to move into Control D, subdivide, and then Dynamesh. And from here, I'm going to grab just the back edge of this guy, and then, not the top part, just the bottom part, and then come down like so. And then we just need to grab like these bottom faces right here. I think it comes about all the way up to about right there. Okay, so we're just grabbing these guys right here, and then dropping these down in Y. So, and then we need to just kind of carve these at an angle like this. Okay, crank the resolution just a little. Starting to see some polys there. And there's a little bit of a hole that goes through, so we're going to come over here to this interesting little cylinder here and hold Alt, and then add a hole that cuts all the way through. Okay, awesome. And now there's this little lever type thing that you can squeeze on. You can adjust the length of the stock. So we'll just grab that guy, mask that out. Oops. Yeah, I'm so sloppy. Sorry, it's those caffeine jitters that I got going. Just mask pen this guy. Just stay away from caffeine, you know? Stay away from stimulants altogether. It's the best way to do it. Okay, so now subtool, we'll do an extract. Check that guy out. And then Dynamesh, polish. Drop them down in the Y direction just a little bit here. One thing you'll notice too, like, is that the pivots for the transform gizmo are just, it goes wherever it wants sometimes. So sometimes if this pivot's over here and it's off camera and you can't, there's no button to hit reset pivot, you know, like that's in view. I like to just switch back to the original transform gizmo and then click and left click and just drag that into place, and then you can switch back and it'll inherit that new position. It's kind of a buggy workaround, but it is what it is. So there's a little bit of a cylinder type shape here that pops down. Okay, awesome. And let's work over here on this side just a little bit. There's a few things we need to add on this, on the upper and the lower of the AR, especially the trigger area. So we'll do a save, and then we'll add this little, they call it a ping pong paddle. So I'm gonna add this guy. Looks just like a ping pong paddle. And do a subtool. Go to extract and just do an extraction there. And then Dynamesh that guy. Clean it up just a little bit. And I think the size is it's a little bit too big. Need to get rid of that other side. I didn't realize that I had. Kind of comes up just a little bit further. All these details are going to be, they're going to help. Oops, wrong way. That way, and we'll just delete the other side over there. Delete hidden. And okay, so now I'm going to clear my mask. There's actually another little tiny detail here we'll add. It goes this direction, but it's more of a square shape, so I'm going to use my clip curve and kind of clip these rounded edges. And then scoot that into place right here. And again, I had symmetry on, so I need to keep that in mind when I do this. Invert my selection, delete hidden. Oops, I think I just lost my pink. No, I didn't. Okay, we're good. Okay, so now that detail's in there. There's also a nice little turning off symmetry, because that's hosed us a few times here. Make sure that we're in orthographic view. And now I'm gonna add this interesting detail here. Using mask lasso to get rid of this guy. And it's kind of if you're familiar with, a traditional polygonal workflow, it's kind of the route that we're going with this guy. So this has got to come out just a little bit. And down in Y. And then re-dynamesh everything together, making sure the polish is on, crank our resolution. I don't know what's happening. Oh, I didn't delete. Make sure that you delete your hidden geo and then re-dynamesh, and everything should be behaving properly. And now this trigger guard, I believe, is a little bit, should be skinnier. So we're gonna push that just a little bit. Just mask that off, invert our selection, and then switch over to clip curve. Make sure the symmetry is turned on. And I don't know what just happened there. I think I left clicked and tapped. There's some interesting poly groups going on. So okay, so we'll go a little bit skinnier than that. Awesome. Re-dynamesh and turn off solo mode and hit save. Okay, so the last couple of details we're going to add, I got to add the trigger itself. So we'll do the same thing we kind of did on the grenade launcher. And center our pivot here and get that shape going. And then what I'm going to do here, actually, to get everything else out of the way, is just use a select rectangle and get everything hidden, and then rerun my click curves. So remember to hold Alt on your click curve to get it to run the other direction. Okay, that's good enough. Actually, it's not good enough. Let's do that. Let's make this guy turn on solo mode and get everything else out of the way, and then we'll make this thing skinnier too and a better angle. Again, just keep in mind to keep it large enough that it will print. And okay, awesome. So there's that. Hitting save. And what else do I need to add here? Looks like there's a little bit of a detail that I'm missing on the actual stock. So I'm gonna come over here and add that. So I'm gonna grab that, mask that guy, deform, inflate that guy out. Give me that detail. And I think the actual stock is a little bit bigger, honestly. So let's just mask that guy and then do an inflate. And actually, in fact, we'll do a scale to center our pivot and just scale it in this direction and then in Y. And that's going to look, I think, more like these things are. And then I think the shape is off too, so we gotta use our clip curve brush and around the side here and just kind of adjust the shape of this guy. And we can always do a mirror and weld to get the rest of the detail back, but you're going to want to do a deform mirror and then a mirror and weld. And for some reason it brought that weird looking thing. Just smoothing, getting everything back. And I'm going to come up with this guy just a little bit more. And then clean it up. Turn on our symmetry so we don't have to do our mirror and weld. And I'm going to grab this guy now. Mask that area and this area. And then pull that guy up like so. Re-dynamesh. And then pull down. Smooth that guy out just a little bit. And then on this guy, I don't know why we had that happen, so I'm gonna just use a select rectangle and use the clip curve brush with symmetry on and just kind of carve that guy back into place. Beat that guy into submission. And then rerun our Dynamesh, clean everything up just a little bit. I think that's looking a little bit better. We do need to actually, what we need to do, I see, okay, so this is what we're missing. So I need to grab the bottom portion of this, unmask this guy, and then drop this all down just a little bit here. I think that's what was throwing me off. So now we're gonna have to pull this guy down too. And there you go. Yeah, it was just a little bit thicker. I think that's what was getting me. So obviously, I mean, you could take way more time on all this stuff than I have. I mean, I'm just trying to teach stuff and trying to get stuff out kind of quickly. But you could really take a lot of time. Like the grip itself has this interesting little like grid pattern that you could try to figure out if you'd like. And I think one thing I am going to do is try to get this this guy working properly. So it's going to be a little bit tricky. I'm going to mask this guy, increase its thickness in the X direction just to be safe, and then come down just a little bit so we get rid of that bottom edge. Okay, and I'm going to carve this back. Whoops. Just tapping Alt while I'm drawing my line here to add points. Apologize if I'm being repetitive with my instruction. I have the memory span of a goat, so I forget what I've already taught and what I haven't sometimes, so I'm working on it. maybe some early onset dementia type stuff going on in my brain. It's kind of sad. And I think the better option here is, let's just do a subtractive mesh. So I'll come on, save my stuff real quick, and then drop this guy at the bottom of the stack and append, we'll say a cube for now, and scale this guy in this direction here. Turn everything else off, turn off solo mode so we can see both things working. They're visible. And scale this guy this direction. And turn on transparency so we can see how deep in we're cutting there. And then I'm going to run this as a Dynamesh quickly, and maybe do a little bit of a smooth. And then I will drop this down to make sure it's on the bottom of the stack. Make sure we make our selection a subtractive mesh, and then also come down to the poly groups, and then group as Dynamesh sub. And let's make sure 100% first and foremost that this top mesh is still in Dynamesh mode, which it is, by that checking that orange button. And then we're going to merge down and then run a Dynamesh on that. And then we'll see that we have a nice groove up that carry handle. So the other thing you'll notice that we're missing, we have our front sight post, but we need to have our back sight. And if I remember correctly, I believe that those are just like a tube. So what we'll do is find a tube insert mesh primitive, which is right here, and then select that guy. And then obviously that's the wrong angle, so we'll come up here. I think this is what this is. Maybe I could be wrong. My dad would be so disappointed in me. But I think that's going to be good for now, and I'll just do an inflate on that. So now we can just like line up our sights like so. Boom, boom, cool. Boom, bow. Yeah, I don't know if that looks right. That doesn't look right. Let's check it out. Let's do some research here. Car 15 sights. Okay, yeah, I was right. So it does just have like, it's not just like, you know, it has this little part right here. Just so like lasso this guy, these verts, and then drop this guy down like that. I mean, it's probably a detail you're not gonna pick up on. So anyway, all right. So what I'm gonna do now, I think one more thing. I think I'm gonna make this silencer even more silent. So let me just do, I keep wrong thing. I'm gonna go to mask pen and select my silencer, invert my selection, and then, whoops, unlock and then reset my pivot, and just increase the silencer size because it's cool. I want it to be a nice big old bulky silencer. And I did like how this one was like down here is basically as long as the silencer. Alright, sweet. So what I'm going to do is hit Control W on each of these poly groups just to make sure that they are their own separate poly groups so we can break it out later on. Because I'm going to do a merge down. This guy I'm going to do in a poly group auto groups to make sure that all their little pieces are their own separate poly groups. So just select, look how many of these we made so quickly. It's pretty wild. Okay, so we'll just do a merge down on all these now. Merge, merge. Get everything merged down. It's probably starting to get to a fairly high poly count. Yeah, so we're roughly 2.1 million polygons with this guy. Just checking out my reference real quick, see what other details we can add before moving on. It's definitely like little like bolts and stuff that we can add. I think we'll add some interest. They're easy to add, so we'll just go ahead and add those now. And go over here to my IMM model kit. It's going to take a second to boot up. And then probably one of my favorite shapes is this cylinder here. It's like kind of got a nice bevel to it. This is where the safety mechanism is peeking through on the other side. Which I don't think we didn't add a safety, or we didn't add our little. We need to add that too. Actually, I am going to keep symmetry on for that detail. Okay. There's also another tiny little guy right here. And even up here on the front post. And right here. That's down below, right here, because that's the bolt for the actual trigger. Get a little creative with this. I can't believe this, I almost didn't add the safety. Oh, what an amateur. Okay, so Control-Shift left click on this guy. I'm going to split this guy out just so I can work on him independently real quick. Just do a split hidden. Control D to subdivide, and then run a Dynamesh. 100's fine. This guy has a little deal that pops out right here at the bottom. It's only on the one side, so we're going to just delete this other side over here by holding Control-Shift, select rectangle, hold Alt to make it red, and then delete hidden. I'm going to do a inflate. Okay. And it actually kind of pops out like so. A tiny little notch right here. It's kind of like a little arrow indicator. Now, turn everything else off except for R2. Show tools here and bring this guy back into place where he belongs. And so obviously there's a good amount of eyeballing on this, so the proportions aren't going to be 100% accurate. But you know what? I think it looks like a car 15. So fix this little back portion here. This is the area where your thumb goes. Alright, cool. Where's this guy down? Alright, sweet. So that's our car 15. I think I'm pretty happy with that for now. I might go through and add they added a bunch of sometimes they would tape these things up with OD green tape, put some tape on the handle. And if you want that to show up, you're gonna have to make that, give it some thickness and everything. So I might add that. Yeah, let's just do it. Let's do it. Like I said, we're already at an hour for this tutorial, so it's gonna be a little bit longer. I'm gonna duplicate my subtool and then cut out everything except for my handle, because I'm just gonna be working on this guy for now. So what I'm going to do for the tape, screen tape that I want, I'm going to come over here to slice curve and just start slicing away kind of the rough shapes of where I want my tape to go, and then Control-Shift left click on that guy, and on that guy, and then come down here to geometry, delete hidden, and then run a Z-remesh on them and see what that does for me. I'm just going to make them double-sided so I can see both sides. And then I'm going to do a, let's do a Q mesh on those to get some thickness to them. And use my move topological. I want these to kind of go underneath right here. Oops, sorry, I had a cough, so I paused and then realized I started doing work without recording again. But yeah, just moving this tape around a little bit. And we might want to do like a fun little kind of wrinkles on the edges of these with so I'm going to polygroup those. And then extrude those out just a little bit and hit Control D. So now we're getting some kind of interesting like tape. And then let's throw some tape on the mag as well. So this is our, I'm going to just do a geometry delete hidden, and then we'll do the same thing, kind of just use a slice curve, and then do that guy. Actually, we'll just do one row of tape for this one, and then we'll just duplicate. So delete everything else, and then do a delete hidden, and do a Z-remesh, and a Z-remesh. And then we'll do the same workflow for this guy. Add some thickness, polygroup this little edge here, do a subdivide, and then delete lower. And I mean, I don't know what the practical application is for this, other than maybe they use it for like camouflage or something like that. Switching over my snake hook brush, let's kind of move this out of the way and make those guys alternate, crisscross, if you will. Make sure this guy pops out on the front side of it. This guy and do deformation, and then I'm gonna actually, I think I can just do a, well, what am I trying to do here? Mirror on Y, I guess? Yeah, and then drop that down into place. We'll just like add another little strip right here. Merge these all down so they're all in one subtool. Hit save, and smooth these edges out just a little bit. Just wanted that little subtle inflation on the outer edge there, and then using my move topological, and then I'm going to go in with my Damien standard, and then kind of these interesting little kind of stretch wrinkle type things. Just help it along, imply that it's tape. I mean, you can add this tape everywhere. It'd look kind of cool if you start wrapping it around the buttstock and you can run some tape around, the front of the barrel. Just get real crazy with it. I think I might do that. I might add. Let's see if no, maybe not. I think I'll leave it for now. think these guys too, they would tape another mag right next to it, you know, so that that's the purpose of having the tape on there. And that might be kind of cool to add too, is just like, you know, another, if I was to duplicate this guy, I think what they would do is, go to modify topology, delete and close holes. And they would bring this guy over like so. Oops, I have symmetry on. And down just a little bit. And so now what they would do is they would just like tape this to that guy. And they would just slide it over, you know. So if, when this mag ran out of ammo, they would pop that out and just slide this guy right next to it, right back up and in. And that would give them a super quick reload and just the ability to just start getting back to work real quick. So I think I'm gonna leave it for now. I'll just delete this guy. Anyway, fairly happy with this for now. So I'm just gonna move on. Merge that guy down. So the guns are all, because they are all their own poly groups, I can now run a Dynamesh and kind of optimize the geometry a little bit so it's not so many polygons. So before I do that, I'm gonna run a save and then go to Dynamesh and crank it to about 600. Hit groups, keep groups on, and then run a Dynamesh. Let's see if it crashes my file here. Might take a moment. There we go. So now we probably, looks like our poly count went up after doing that, so maybe we'll just leave it. All right, so let's get that guy into place now. And before I do that, I'm gonna version up because I feel like that's non-destructive, so I'm in version 10. It's not uncommon in the industry to get the hundreds and hundreds of versions. I think that's a smart workflow. Okay, so get this gun into place. And then he has a cool strap that comes up and connects to the front sight. So I think I'm gonna leave that for now. So that's gonna be our Car 15 tutorial. So we're at an hour and 15 minutes. But if you liked what you saw, again, like, comment, subscribe, and I think in the next video we'll continue to do just some refining of the character overall, just maybe some proportional refinements, some polishing. I need to fix this back part of these straps because they were looking pretty mushy and ugly, and then maybe do a little detailing on the back part, like try to fill this in a little bit, just do some work on it. And then we need to get him into pose. We need to get his hand actually holding his gun, and then he's kind of looking to the side too, and then maybe add like a base. So there's still some work to do. We'll probably try to button this up in the next couple of videos. But anyways, thanks for joining me. Hope you all have a great day, and we'll see you in the next video.